It's the feast of St. Marcellus, Pope, Martyr. He's a pope right before Constantine frees up the church in the early, but he's ruling in the early 300s. And Maxentius there, the emperor in Rome, wants him to sacrifice to the idols, and he wouldn't. So he sentenced the Pope to work as a stable hand in the public stables. And he spent 9 months in there as a slave, just shoveling manure and taking care of the animals, things like that, in these great stables. And then his clerics rescued him out of there after 9 months. He was just taking care of the church by epistles. And a Roman woman gave him a house, a great house to use as a church. So he set up and started working out of there. Maxentius then ordered that be made into a stable, and that Marcellus work there. And finally he just died of all the abuse and whatnot. He couldn't take it anymore. He's too weak, and he died. And this would be 309 is when he died, just before the church got freed. So that's St. Marcellus the Pope. But any time we see a martyr or think of a martyr, it should remind us that this faith is really worth dying for. A lot of people, I'm not really sure what they're living for, and it's not clear they're sure what they're living for either. They're just sort of confused and going from one thing to the other. They're not sure what they're doing here. Is it pleasure? Are we supposed to get power, money? What's the point of it all? I used to see this bumper sticker out west, "He who dies with the most toys wins." And I wondered, wins what? You see, people are completely confused. But the martyrs remind us that there's something worth dying for. And if it's worth dying for, then it's worth living for. And that's this union with Christ that he gives us in his church. He gives us a purpose of life. He's come, the Son of God has come to tell us what we're doing here. Look how many people don't know what they're doing here. That's why all this chaos. But we know. We know what we're doing here. And if you know what you're doing here, and you know what's worth dying for, then you know what's worth living for. And that's the lesson, the primary lesson the martyrs can teach us. This is really something worth living for. Ask Christ today to increase your faith, your hope, and your charity, come what may.